everyone. Welcome back to the 1 hour series. I am sorry we haven't been live for a while, but today we have another special guest, another guest from Broadway, because yay, Broadway is open again. We've got music director and conductor. His name is Dan Micciche, and he is here to talk about all things auditions and also about being a music director. So I would love to introduce Dan. Here he is. Hi, Dan. Thank you again for doing
Hello.
this.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, Dan and I had a short talk before we went live, and I totally forgot to ask you, Dan, if you're okay with kind of talking about yourself a little bit, because I feel like you're probably going to tell a better story about yourself than I am. Maybe if you're okay with that, just like your stuff that you've done, so people know what kinds of questions they can ask you pretty much.
Yes. So my name is Dan Micciche. I'm the music director and conductor of the Broadway company of Wicked. I grew up in Connecticut, and I ended up getting my BFA in music theater actually as a performer from the Boston Conservatory, and graduated there, moved to New York City. And when I first moved to New York City, I was obviously auditioning as an actor. Oh, I need to keep my distance here. Moved to New York City in 2007 and did an off-Broadway show, did a nymph show, and then I booked my first Broadway show 9 months later, and that was Chicago. And I played Mary Sunshine. I was the youngest to play Mary Sunshine in the years of Chicago running, still running. I did the show for 6 years, 2,000 performances. I did it in 125 cities, 3 countries, as well as 3 years on Broadway. And in the middle of that time, I started coaching a lot, and I was coaching a lot of singers in New York. And I started to really, I fell in love with music direction my senior year of college, but really like around 2010, I really started getting the itch to become a music director and conductor. I mean, I never would have thought at this point in my life to be in this position in this life. I'm so grateful every single day. And we'll get into more of that, how that happened. But with a lot of hard work and networking and pounding the pavement every single day, around 2012, right before that, actually, I did Bernstein's Mass at Carnegie Hall in the Kennedy Center with the Baltimore Symphony. And then around 2012, Adam Gettle contacted me to play the piano for some of his classes. And he was the first person to really believe in me as a musician and as a pianist. And he's like, I really think you should music direct for the rest of your life. And I was like, I would love to, but I can't get seen as it because everyone thinks I'm this actor, which I was still doing Chicago. And then in 2014, Stephen Aremus and Stephen Schwartz changed my life and put me out on the national tour of Wicked as keyboard 3, assistant to the assistant conductor. I took over as MD of the national company in 2016. And then, thank you, baby Jesus. Thank you, Wicked. In 2018, they brought me to the Broadway company. And that is my life. And now, after living in New York for 15 years, my husband and I, we live full-time out in Connecticut again, thankfully, and we still have our place in the city. And it's a wonderful life.
Well, thank you for that intro. And I'm sure everybody saw the majestic grand piano behind you.
Yes, my childhood piano.
Oh, really? Nice, nice. So you brought it with you every time you moved then?
Oh, I can't even tell you how much money I spent on moving this damn thing 6 times, but it's not ever moving again.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that's it. No more moving.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before I wanted to, for those of you watching, I wanted to do the stream a little bit differently because I know we've had a bunch of music directors on these streams already, and we will for sure get to the auditions and everything. But Since we are featuring artists and music directors, obviously also artists, it would be interesting for me personally and a couple of people who submitted questions in advance to find out what it's like to be a music director. Because for me personally, I'm like, it's probably so stressful because as a singer, you just have to worry about yourself. As a music director, it's like, okay, third bass from the left, you are flat on that note. Sopranos, I need more from you. I'm like, how do you do it? And how do you do the auditions? How do you decide on all these things?
It's a lot of multitasking. And a lot of people don't realize that being a music director of a big corporate show like Wicked, a big show, it really is 20% conducting and 80% managerial and maintaining the product. A lot of people think as a music director, it's like, oh, I'm just going to conduct. And I'm like, really, that is like maybe even like 18% of the gig. I always say being a good music director and a conductor and a leader of a department, it is a leadership position. And it's a communication position. It's a personality position. And, I kind of have my hand in all different departments. The PSM is my lifeline. Her and I, go through the schedule every single week and we rehearse almost every single day. And then as well as Stephen Aremus, who's the worldwide music supervisor of Wicked, him and I talk every day about a bunch of different things, but really just what's going on in both companies, the national company and the Broadway company, down to auditions. And we audition almost every week for openings that are happening in either company, talking with the choreographer, talking with the director, talking with the associate director, talking with my producer, handling things calmly, and then again, leadership, position as, creating a safe, happy, positive environment with the orchestra as well as the acting company. But, talking to the orchestra and talking to the acting company it's two different ways of communicating with them. And it's all about maneuvering and how you're going to maneuver around situations in order to keep calm when things get very stressful. And because it all trickles down from the top. And so really, and then let alone maintaining the musical integrity of the show that was built 18 years ago. And that includes noting the principals weekly, noting the ensemble, my darling, beautiful ensemble, who I'm very proud of, noting the musicians. There's also 95 subs as well as 24 musicians at Wicked. So noting subs, then also sitting out at the soundboard, making sure things are balanced and the way that they're coming out in the house, getting what I need from the orchestra, getting what I need from the cast. So yes, it is a bunch of different things.
Wow. I'm just listening to you. I'm like, I'll stick to just being a performer. Thank you very much. It's like a lot of things to take care of. It's like if something's wrong, it's on you because you're like, oh, I listened to this and now it's my job to get that done.
Yeah. And again, like, it's honesty. Things are not going to be perfect every single day. It's live theater. And it's also about delegating, delegating different things that you need that you can't handle at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I delegate it to my associate. I delegate it to my assistant. I ask for help when I need, and that's a very important tool to learn as well.
Yeah, speaking of things going wrong, I saw Wicked on Broadway, well, pre-pandemic, and I don't know if it's because I'm also a performer, but I was so stressed out every time I knew that like some either a quick change or like the alphabet's thing rising. I'm like, come on, rise, don't get stuck. I literally could not just come down and watch without being like, oh my god, the moment is coming. Okay, everything better go right. Yeah. Julia, calm down. You're not a part of the show. You're in the audience. It's just, I can only imagine for you guys. It's like, during the show with so many things going on other than just singing also.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, it's remaining calm when things do go awry. There's no point in going crazy and getting stressed out, at least for myself, because I know that I kind of go into a survival mode, and I was like, okay, how am I going to handle this right now? You know, and I hope that the choice that I make how to handle this is the right choice. And, you know, we usually work it all out.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with such a high class trained team, I'm sure everybody just comes together and works it out.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
even if the platform doesn't rise, people are like, okay, here's what we're working with right now.
Yep.
Handle it. All right. Well, we definitely had a lot of questions about auditions. So now that we heard a little bit about what it's like to be a music director, and I'm sure it'll come up more with as we discuss auditions too. Uh, for everybody who doesn't know, could you maybe go over how Broadway auditions work for shows usually? So, because you did say you are auditioning every week. So is it, I know you don't have open calls every week, obviously, so clearly agents, stuff like, how does it happen?
So we'll have a couple open calls a year. We'll have 2 ECCs, which is an equity chorus call a year, and we'll have 2 EPAs, an equity principal audition. And usually the ECCs are 8 to 16 bars. And the EPA is usually, I think, a brief song, 16 to 32 bars, a song of your choice. Then what I have almost every week is appointments. And depending on who's leaving the company. I mean, we've just replaced 7 people in the Broadway company, and we're still replacing. So people have left, and you know, so I don't know. Well, we just replaced our Glinda standby, and I saw like 95 women for that, you know, and so that's appointments. They'll come in and sing from the packet that we have prepared and the sides that we have given them as well.
And speaking of singing from the packet and sides, so usually, well, I guess it might be different for EPAs and open calls, and you know, when you're getting someone from an agent for a specific role. But how much do you expect people to learn usually for a callback or for a role? Is it the whole thing, or is it just a few bars of the song?
So, like for instance, like with Alphaba, it's Wizard and I and Defying Gravity, and it's from Unlimited to the end, and it's So If You Care to Find Me to the end.
Of course, yeah, because you need to hear those and notes that people can, yeah.
Exactly. And if you're given that packet, I expect it to be learned note by note and rhythm by rhythm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I asked that question because we've talked to a few Broadway people on these streams, and it seems to vary a lot show by show. People sometimes are like, "Oh yeah, it was just like 32 bars of this song. We just wanted like the end of Defying Gravity to see if you can hit those notes." And some people are like, "Yeah, they made me sing literally every single song in the show." So,
oh no, the packet doesn't change. Like Elphaba always sings these 2 songs. Maybe I'm Not That Girl. Glinda sings Let Us Be Glad and Popular. There's always those 2 cuts. But with those 2 cuts, I want to hear what's on the page. It's not a time for improvisation.
Yeah, of course.
Because at the end of the day, we all need to remember that we are there to service the piece that was written 18 years ago by Stephen Schwartz.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean for shows like Wicked or even Little Mermaids, like stuff like that everybody already knows anyway. Even if you have to sing the whole show, you're like, yeah, I know it all. I've listened to it so many times. Might as well just sing it all.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So let's start with. Actually, it probably doesn't matter. So if someone comes to an initial call, let's actually start with EPA. So open call, not agents, just people coming in the room. What for you as a music director makes people stand out? Like when they sing something or do something, what is it that makes you think, okay, I want to call this person back?
So there's nothing that you're going to say or do is going to make me like, a lot of people think like, oh, I'll say this to be really cute or this to be funny. And like, it's not going to make you stand out, right? It might just make it like kind of seem awkward. Exactly. And I know it's very, very hard as I used to be a performer and I auditioned hundreds of times. You want them to like you. So we sometimes get a little obviously nervous, but then we also like me. When I always say that you should view an audition as meeting for a cup of coffee with a friend, but also remember it's a job interview. And so the things that I look for is how you walk into the room, confidence, your energy. And then when you sing, and a lot of people get mad because it's like, oh God, 8 bars at Wicked. I always do that because usually about 500 to 600 people show up. And I always make a speech in the holding room that the reason why we're doing 8 bars is I promise you, if the cut is correct, I can hear what I need to hear in the first 4 bars. And I value your time. And so if I can get to 500 people in these 8 hours, I would much rather do that than have you sing an extra 8 bars and let me get through 250. You know? So what I'm listening for in just an initial ECC EPA is I'm looking how you walk in the room, your energy, confidence, and type-wise, if I can see you going in certain different tracks in the show. Then I'm listening for pitch, technique with your vibrato or straight tone, and the timbre of your sound. And if those 3 things click, then I might vocalize you. And that's it.
Oh, that's interesting. The vocalizing. I've heard that done on some auditions, and some are like, no, just sing your thing, and that's or they ask you for a second cut or something.
Yeah, like if a girl comes in and see, I'm moving around. God, I'm so nervous to move around. If a girl comes in and sings a soprano song, but I know I need a high C, and they're only hitting, an A, I'm going to vocalize them.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Speaking of high Cs, in general, for a show, not necessarily high C, but if you need a specific note, and let's say, for me personally, I've had this, well, not problem, but a question for a lot of auditions. How do you feel about people maybe changing the last note of a cut to something else, to like show off the high C or the low F or whatever? Is that okay with you, or would you rather them sing as written?
In an ECC, if it makes sense, like could have dance all night, like that's fine. If it's like so apparent that you're like, oh God, I don't know. Now life has killed the dream I dreamed. It's like that shit. It's just like taking me out of the moment. Something like that. If you can justify it, sure. In an appointment, and it's like after you've done the material, I just wouldn't do it, because it can come off as like, look at me, what I just did for you probably isn't enough, so let me have a high note. Because again, trust that, hopefully, I know for myself, is if we're interested, I'm going to be like, great, can you just pop up to like a C for me? Let me just hear it. Or like with the men, like tenor ones, everyone's like, oh God, tenor 1 and Wicked. I need like solid Bs. So I need you to sing that. And you know what? If it's for a tenor 1 position and you can throw in a high B for me, full voice, do it. You know what I mean? We're going to want to hear it anyway.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. This it's just so interesting to see, because everybody has a different opinion on this. People are different, I always say. Yeah. It's like some people are like, yeah, change everything, that's fine. Some people are like, no. Whatever the composer wrote, sing that. If we want to hear more, we'll ask you more.
Now, never, ever change notes in material that you're given.
Yeah.
That is a no. Mm-hmm. And like, that is so much so that like, I want to hear unlimited unlimited. My future is unlimited. I literally want to hear every single note and no riffing.
I can't remember if it was on the Wicked. You guys just had a Wicked, well, video submissions. Can't remember if it was Wicked or some other video submission call that said no riffing. It was like, can't remember if it was like caps or not, but I was like, okay, they really don't want riffing.
That's from me. That's from me and Steven Arenas.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, okay, they clearly have specific requirements here.
Because it just doesn't do any justification to the piece. You know, it's like Stephen Schwartz, the brilliant Stephen Schwartz did not write that. So why, why you don't, you know?
Yeah, and then you hear it as written on the page, and if need be, you can tell them to change it afterwards. Mm-hmm. So they're not like, here, I composed a new ending to this song. Right. All right, for those of you guys watching live, feel free to put questions and comments as always. And I've got all the questions from people who submitted in advance. So as always, this will be available to watch afterwards as well. I know not as many people are able to tune in live anymore. So worry not, it'll be on Facebook and YouTube. And we'll try to answer all the questions if we can. Now, Dan, for callbacks, we talked about initial auditions. For callbacks, how many people per role do you usually call back? And maybe if you could talk about the difference between ensemble and lead roles. And then I'll ask the next question after, actually. So how many people approximately?
It all depends on what I've been given. Like if I've been given 20 people for this one role and only 2 really cut it, it's 2. But I was just given like 90 people for one role and like 40 of them cut it. So, you know, I whittle it down. Like I'll go through them and then I'll whittle down the ones that are working for me. And then I'll go back and whittle that list down too. But like, it all depends on how many I'm given. You know, it all depends on how many are initially submitted and that we see. Yeah. And it might be a bunch. It might be just a couple. For multiple reasons.
Oh yeah. So when you get a lot of people submitted, how do you, when like you just said, you're like, okay, 40 of them were perfectly fit for the role. How do you make the decision on who to, you know, call back to the next callback kind of thing?
Well, I mean, as music director, I'm listening for your voice, right? So I need the range. I need technique. I'm looking at your resume. And then I know requirements that I know that our associate director would want or our director or, you know, so I'm looking out for those things. But for the music department, I'm listening for the voice and what you're doing with it as well, because it's not just about the voice, it's how you're presenting the material. You know, if you sound stunning and you're deadpan, it's music theater. Like it's not just a recording. So I'm also looking for that, you know, big picture. I'm looking for big picture.
All right. Now I'm going to ask a question from an audience member. He submitted it in advance. So Josh was asking, it was my dream to audition for Fierro one day. How do you feel about actors auditioning for lead roles who don't have much experience in professional theaters? I mostly did community theater here and there, but I'm really passionate about theater and would love to audition. Should I first get some professional credits on my resume, or would you consider someone like me for a lead role right away?
Do both. You know, I would say if you're into theater and this is what you want to do, go down every avenue you can. I know when I first got to New York, I auditioned for everything under the moon. Even things I wasn't right for. You know, I was young and I was like, let me get my feet wet and let me see where I land. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we've had people that haven't been on Broadway before and they're playing Elphaba, you know, Lindsay Pierce, found her in LA, and she's done some theater before in TV and film, but she's never done a Broadway show. And so we took that, choice and went with her. She was amazing. So I definitely wouldn't say let that get in the way, but I would do both. I would get more credits on your resume, but in the same time, if there's an open call or a submission that you can get submitted for, I'd say go for it.
All right. Yeah. And I feel like in New York, there are so many opportunities. I totally did what you did when I was in Chicago, just auditioned for everything. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm probably not right for this show, but I was like, I'll practice auditioning. And speaking of being not right for the show, how do you feel about actors auditioning who are not right for the show? So let's say they, I don't know, you're auditioning for Wicked and they're like a rock tenor or something and don't have the right sound. Would you rather them not even come in, or are you okay with people just kind of coming in, showing you what they've got in case you're casting something else later?
Well, someone could come in with a rock tenor. I mean, it's not like we're doing like, showboat, it's not like it's legit. There's sections of the show that, do require, rounder tone or, obviously straight tone. But, I mean, if it's something like a rock tenor that I might need a crazy high tenor, yeah, I mean, I would say come in. But, I mean, this show runs the gamut of so many different vocal styles. So,
I probably shouldn't have said Wicked. I should have said like you're auditioning for Phantom of the Opera and they sing something in Mamma Mia style. Because you're right. I asked him that. I'm like, hey, Wicked has a lot of like singing styles, and so it's probably
I mean, again, it goes to what I said earlier, that it's a job interview.
Yeah.
So if you come in singing something that's so not in the style of the show, I'm like,
what's going on here? Yeah.
It's like, do you know what you're auditioning for right now? Like those things stand out. Mm-hmm. Those little things, that what material you're choosing, and again, how you talk to the pianist and the way you walk into the room. But also, like, I know when I was a performer, I know that I'm a legit singer. I can kind of sing contemporary, but I'm a legit singer, and I would not go audition for Rent because it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Just like someone that would audition for Rent isn't going to audition for 42nd Street. So it's knowing where your type is, knowing, what you can slide into, and also knowing your strengths as an actor and knowing your strengths as a music director. I mean, there's definitely things that I can't do that I also know that I'm not going to put myself in that position. But I also know that the things I can excel at might be what that person can't do, but they can do what I can't do. Everyone thinks they need to do everything. Yes, you need to be diverse in what you can do in this business. So to work, but you also need to be smart. It comes down to being a smart business person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for those of you watching, we did have a stream about things like what to have in your audition book, aka diversity of things. So if you want to check out that stream, you can. But I would love to also ask you that question, Dan. I know we're not really talking about audition book, but as a music director, what kinds of things would you expect for people to have in their book? Not necessarily for Wicked, but in general.
The biggest thing that I find that's frustrating in auditions is with women, they will belt and then I can't get a head voice out of them. So a lot of people think in this world where it's very, very chesty and there's not as much soprano work sometimes, what happens a lot, especially when they're covering, that will choose who I'm picking, because I'll hear these amazing chesty voices, but then I might need you to pop up to like an A or a B flat. And if you can't do it, that comes in the way. So again, it's diversifying your book. If you're going to sing Wherever He Aimed from Mac and Mabel and belt your face, I want to make sure you can sing like, Warm All Over, or, something that is in a soprano range. That's not even that high, but something that is touching a B, maybe even a C. I think that's very important. As a man, I mean, you don't really have two voices, right? You're either a tenor, you're a baritone, or a barytenor. You just want to pick material that is showcasing you. I mean, obviously, you want to be in the right key for yourself, the money key that works in your voice, the smart material. But then again, like, people think smart material is like obscure. That doesn't mean obscure songs that no one knows. I will listen to If I Love You till the cows come home, if you're doing it justice. If you're doing it justice through the text and musicality. You know, don't think that we're looking at, like, for an ECC and you're a Bach and you need to come in with a song that has a driving tempo and it's about this guy who loves this girl. Like, it's not that deep. I just want to hear your voice, right? And I want to hear a song that you personally can connect to. But that is definitely a main thing. Like, I find that a lot of women don't put as much focus on their head voice as they put on their chest voice.
All right, thank you for that. I apologize, I was looking at comments right here as you were talking, Dan. Looks like I've missed a couple of comments from a couple of people, so let me just quickly ask those. Jaylan is asking, what are your thoughts about someone singing up or below an octave or in a different key?
Oh, yeah, pick another key that works for you. In your book, change whatever key works for you. That's fine. With material that you're given, no, you got to sing it in that key.
Now, what are your thoughts on change, or let's say if you identify as a woman and you take a song of a character who is male, for example, and then you change pronouns within the song, is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. Again, if you're auditioning for something, though, where you know the range of the character, that's the important thing. But go for it. Use your imagination. Personally, I feel that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I know some people say, oh, sing something from like a character that you could be cast as tomorrow. Don't sing something that you would never be cast as.
Well, I mean, that's a different question. I mean, if I was a 20-year-old woman, I wouldn't come in singing, Some People from Gypsy. You know what I mean? Or I'm Still Here from Follies. It's the same thing as a man. Like, if I'm a young guy, a young bright-eyed guy, I'm not going to come in and sing like Poor Judd Is Dead from Oklahoma. Yeah. You got to know where you fit in too. Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. I guess whatever represents you as a performer and a person. Yeah. All right. Oh, we've got a few comments from people saying that they're glad that we're back. Yes, sorry guys, I haven't been doing these for a while. I was on a super long road trip before this, so I'm so glad to have Dan be the first person back here. Thank you.
All right. So once again, those of you watching, if you have any more questions, put them down in comments. And Dan, for when you already cast someone and that person's cast, you're starting rehearsals, how can actors make sure that, make your job easier and make sure that you want to hire them again and work with them again? How do you not mess it up after you make it, kind of thing?
Well, no one's perfect. So giving yourself that grace. But say you've been hired for a Broadway show in an ensemble and you've been given the script and score, and I give everyone a plunk track of their notes before they come to rehearsal. I hopefully would expect, but also I will be very impressed and happy and very delighted that if your first day of rehearsal shows me that you did your homework, that you're not opening up the score for the first time, and that even if you've had the plunk track for 3 days, that's a lot of time. And you're going into a Broadway show, I would expect that if you can, you'd clear your schedule and learn those notes as much as you can. So when you get into your first rehearsal, which is a vocal rehearsal, we can really get the notes and rhythms out of the way. And we can talk about the inflections and the dynamics and where the cutoffs are and where to use your consonants and what open vowel and all that diphthong and all that stuff. Going forward, just be easy. Just be easy, open to everything. And, you know, what helped a lot in my career, especially as I was moving up to become a music director when I was an assistant, I want to be the person that, one, you could rely on, and that, quote unquote, you know, saves the day. Like, oh my God, we need a key 2 sub. Oh, I can do it, you know, that kind of thing. Or, hey, can you jump in and play these auditions? Or, hey, you know, oh, I know that guy. He can nail anything. He's a great tenor 1. He's great. He's easy to work with. He's no BS. He's no drama. That's how you get rehired. You know, it's not about being everyone's best friend. Again, it's a job. And it is a job. And it's if you constantly show up and do the work and you have a smile on your face and you're full out, you're going to be hired. You're going to be hired again and again and again. Because I always say to people, you know, and the people I work with at Wicked, I see more than I see my husband. So I want to enjoy my time around you, you know? So just being a pro and everything that comes with being a pro, knowing your material, showing up. If you show up on time, you're late. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. It goes a long way. You want to be dependable.
Yeah, for sure. Now, just to follow up on something you said, learning music before rehearsals. For me personally, I'm such a perfectionist that I'm like, oh my God, I got to know it all before the first rehearsal, which I know is not always necessary. But for Broadway shows, generally, or just for Wicked, I'm sure it's probably different for every show. How long do people have from the time they're cast in a role to the time they have to sing it at a rehearsal to learn everything?
Oh, sometimes people are cast like 2 days before they start rehearsal.
Okay, so it really depends. You're like, okay, this person's leaving. We need you tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And sometimes people are cast, you know, 2 months beforehand.
Yeah, I remember my ballet teacher, who was also on Broadway back in the day, said she once got cast, I think, either the day before or the day of the actual show. So the audition combination, she's a dancer, was legit what she had to dance on stage, and she had to learn it right away.
What was her name?
Her name is Sue Wren, but she retired a while ago. She's I think she's about 72 right now. She's in Chicago.
The original Chicago.
No, she lives in Chicago now. She was the show she auditioned for was Cabaret.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they had auditions. They're like, okay, we had the person drop out or like something happened that they need to replace them right away. She was like, yeah, I had to learn like 5 full dances before, you know, and they just cast whoever could remember everything fast enough kind of thing. So it does happen fast sometimes.
Yep.
All right, you guys, we only have about 10 minutes or so left of the stream. So if you have any more questions live, put them down in comments. And I usually try to ask questions, the combine questions together to answer as many questions as we can. So hopefully everybody's questions will get answered. Now, I'm looking at another question Jaylan had. What if you just found out about the audition last minute and have no time to learn the music by heart? Are you okay with someone having to use their sheet music?
Oh, always. I always would rather you hold the sheet music as a safety net than just like wing it. Always.
Yeah. I've made this mistake before. It was I think for a callback the next day, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. And I literally forgot the lyrics midway. I'm like, so bad.
I know some people like that. Whatever you have to do to show your best self in the room.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Perfect. Okay. Now I think I asked this question pretty much of everybody on these streams. But what are your some of your pet peeves, I guess, or like things that you want actors not to ever do during auditions? Is there something like that for you?
Um, when they're trying too hard. And I know I've been the culprit as well when I
Yeah.
first came to the city, it just turns you off because it's like, oh, you don't trust yourself, you know? Oh God, my husband's gonna, oh, the tree changed the colors. He hates when he does that. He's like, it needs to be white. Um, it's when people don't trust themselves and they're not their authentic self. Also, if it does say on the front of the cover letter of an audition, please sing exactly the notes and rhythms and do not riff, and you don't do that, it's like, I don't understand what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's like, I really just don't understand that. And then this is a hard lesson to learn. And, everyone has to still work on this, but like when you get in a show, to not be defensive about notes. It's a hard lesson. I had to learn that. And I still like sometimes keep myself in check because notes are a way of helping you get there, right? And sometimes when actors or musicians, they get defensive, it kind of puts a roadblock in front of that, there's certain Elphabas and Glindas and other performers where I just say, hey, ba, 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 that needs to be fixed. And they're like, got it. I love that, and I try and do that as well when I get notes. I get notes a lot from Stephen Aremus and Lisa Leguio and Gio Mantello and David Stone, Stephen Schwartz, and they're helpful. I want notes. Tell me how can I keep bettering myself in this position? But those are some of the pet peeves: not trusting yourself, not being authentic in the room, and not doing what has been asked of you.
Okay, yeah. Following instructions is like one.
No, that's it.
Literally, everybody is like, just follow the instructions. It's all there. Please follow the instructions. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what if? Everybody has bad audition days. What if an actor comes in and has a terrible audition, and let's say maybe you haven't seen the actor ever before, and you don't know what they're like, and obviously, first time they like sing the wrong notes or forget the lyrics. What would you ever give them a second chance, or should they just like wait it out a little?
Absolutely. At Wicked, we have 3 files. 1, callback. 2, it's not going to work right now. 3, farm. And the farm file is like, okay, like there's something really special about this person. It's not working right now or today, but I want to see you, and thank God it's Wicked. So we knock on wood. It's like, I want to see you in 6 months. I want to see you in a year, and that happens a lot with like recent graduates where I'm like, absolutely spot on, but not right now. Let's see you again. I love when people come in stronger. Sometimes people come in not as strong, even when they've had a great audition, So I for myself, I will always give you another, sometimes 3 or 4 chances.
Yeah. So I guess as long as you don't keep coming in and giving bad auditions consistently, then you guys would probably be like, okay, this person's either just not prepared or something's off here.
Or like, for instance, if I need it for a certain vocal type.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, come back in 6 months and see if you've improved your range. Mm-hmm. And if they've worked hard and it has gotten better, absolutely. If they've worked hard and it's not getting any better, maybe it's just not your range, Or if some people have been told what to do, again, following instructions, and come back and it's still the same way, no, because it just doesn't show that you've given it time.
Now, how often do you remember people? So how often do you remember bad auditions, good auditions? Is that like a thing?
I think maybe since I first came to New York as an actor, and a lot of the people that audition in front of me are people that I used to audition with. I also teach at a lot of universities and conservatories and speak at a lot of places. So I'll remember people. I'm pretty good at remembering people, especially faces. I might not be great at remembering names, except like when they're like more mature actors and actresses that have like been on Broadway in like the 80s and 90s. Absolutely. I will know exactly who you are, and I will list off your resume because I'm obsessed with those years on Broadway. But I'll remember. I'll remember but like, don't let that like freak you out. Like, oh God, you remembered that I wasn't good. Like, I'm not going to remember that. I'm going to remember being like, I'll be the first person to be like, if I go see a show, this happened the other day. And I texted Craig Burns, and I was like, who was our casting director? And I was like, this person is amazing. See if they would be interested. I'm always looking for really fabulous people.
Yeah. Speaking of remembering, I interviewed Bob, the casting director of Chicago Shakespeare Theater, on one of these, and when I got to Chicago, I was just starting to build my resume, and I literally did not take even one Shakespeare class. I was like, I'll just wing it. They were casting for a couple of musicals and Shakespeare show, and so I did a monologue without even knowing what I was saying. It was just like, yeah, how hard can it be? And like a few years later, we do this stream with him. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you. You had a beautiful voice. I'm like, you mean you also remember my terrible Shakespeare monologue?
Wow.
He's like, yeah. I might not. So
sometimes
it's like, yeah, good to know that the casting people are forgiving though, because after that I took Shakespeare classes, I improved, and then now I laugh about it, but back then I was like, yeah, good enough. Was not good enough. Speaking of classes, we're almost done here, you guys, so I'm just going to ask Dan one last question before we wrap up. Do you at all teach, I guess, via Zoom or in-person classes, like one-on-one classes for those who are interested, who are watching the stream?
I do.
Okay, and how can people contact you?
But
okay.
since like for the whole pandemic, I mean, I've always coached, but like the whole pandemic, I was doing like 40 people a week, right? That's what all I was doing was coaching.
Yeah.
When Broadway reopened in August and we started rehearsal, like my time obviously has gotten very limited since I'm at Wicked about 60 hours a week. So you can message me on Instagram, or if I put something in the chat, will that work?
I don't think so, because I'll be the only one who's, you know what, guys, actually there's going to be an end screen after we end the stream, and your Instagram's on there as well.
Right. So you can either message me on Instagram, Dan Micciche, or you can email HITIT, HITIT, Productions, INC, HITIT Productions, Inc. @gmail.com. And that will go to my business manager, and he will send out an email every Sunday for available times. But I know that I won't be coaching until at least the middle of January. But yes, I do coach in person and virtual. But for right now, because work is very, very intense about testing, I am just doing virtual.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. Now, we're pretty much out of time. So, Dan, is there anything else you'd like to say as a closing remark before we go offline? Any other tips or like things we've missed maybe?
Well, thank you for having me. It's always so lovely to talk to someone who's passionate about theater and our industry. And whatever you may want to do, be a performer or an actor or a performer, a musician, a conductor, a music director, whatever, the most important thing is, we always hear you are enough, but really the way I view that is, highlight your strengths, and don't think that you have to do everything under the moon, and remember that, your personality and the way that you talk with people, and that's that's a big thing. And this business is all about networking and showing up. It's not just about talent. It's a business industry of people being reliable, showing up, and people that they want to work with. And how do you network? Well, everyone has much more of a platform and an easier time than what it was 15, 16 years ago. Because you can Instagram anyone, and it's incredible the people that do right back, So just keep persevering and know that honestly, you could do things that you've never even imagined. So you just got to stay in your lane and keep driving forward and be positive as much as we can.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks everybody for watching. You can join us again next week. Not sure when yet. I'm setting up a couple of streams with a couple of casting directors, talking about TV and film this time, because I know we've done a bunch of theater. So stay tuned for that. And Dan, thank you once again for doing this. It's just so cool to have someone from Wicked. I know everybody's obsessed with Wicked. So cool to hear from someone who's actually a part of making the magic. So I know Dan has to get back to Wicked now. So if you guys are in New York, go see the show.
Yes, come see us at Wicked.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again, Dan.
Thank you. Bye.